Hey everyone, how you doing today? I have a good friend coming back to the show. He was on about a year ago or so, and a little known fact, going to one of his events was my last plane flight before the shutdown. So he is a very good friend of mine and of the channel. Jim Ingersoll, how you doing, young man?
Good to see you. Good to see you and hang out and talk about real estate and market and renting, one rental at a time, all that good stuff. I love it. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, this is the kind of conversation I wanted to have today, right? It's April 1st, start of Q2. I've been telling people we're exiting the dark period, we're going to the light. The next 12 months won't be like the last 12 months. But, I wanted to bring somebody on that's got 20 years experience or so, like myself, in this game on the entire different coast, right? You're East Coast, I'm
Yep.
West Coast. You focused really in on one market. I focused in on one market. That just means we have a level of depth and experience. So, Jim, for my audience that hasn't seen your old videos, remind them what you do, where you're at, all of that. And then I really want to talk about what we're doing now, because I don't think enough people talk about that.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, I've been doing this full time, 15 years out of corporate America. Before that, my background was engineering and operations and all that good stuff. A lot of travel like yourself that I don't miss at all.
Yeah.
And but no, full time, 15 years in Virginia. And love buying rentals. I'm buying in two markets now, Michael, both
Okay.
in Virginia and in Florida, and we could talk through some of the why behind that if you want
Awesome.
to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we're buying rentals in both markets, and real estate changed my life like it changed your life, and I love sharing that good news.
There you go. Well, hey, let's just get into it right off the top, because again, we've got, roughly 40 years combined in this business. It's changed our lives. We both went W-2 to full time. We
Yep.
both now help, hundreds, if not thousands of people a year. But let's talk about each of our businesses first, right? So first off, you're in two markets now. That's a little twist and a change.
It is.
Why?
Okay.
Let's talk about that, and why Florida? So why the change?
Well, I mean, part of the reason is what's happening with the landlord laws all across the country.
Yeah.
So Virginia is used to be very landlord friendly,
Mm.
just like 3 years ago. But that's changed, and especially over the last 12 months. And so, with the CDC eviction moratorium and then additional local regulation on landlords has been difficult. Now, that being said, I haven't had to evict anybody in years.
Yeah.
So I've been really super fortunate that we haven't had an issue. But if you do, now it's a 14-day pay or quit.
Yeah.
And then even on top of that 14-day pay or quit, there's additional stuff you got to go through. And then they just pushed out the moratorium. So, I haven't had to do that. Whereas in Florida, Michael, it's a 3-day pay or quit,
Wow.
14. So it's like a lot easier to move things through.
Hmm.
Then the other thing I was studying is like population shifts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people moving out of California where you're at, but also out of like northern states like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York. And a lot of them are going to like Nashville, Charlotte, or Florida.
Yeah.
So I started looking into that, and those were some of the reasons I started buying in Florida.
Very cool. So Florida's a big state. Have you honed in on a city that you like, or you're still kind of
I
figuring it out?
like the I-4 corridor. The
Okay.
I-4 corridor from Orlando to Tampa is kind of where I'm zeroing in on.
Okay. All right. And I'm gonna guess, but I don't know. I'm guessing single families or residential versus kind of bigger units.
I'm doing more apartments.
Oh, really? Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. Everything's changing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good. It's good.
Very, very cool. All
Off to a
right.
good start.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, I think migration, red, blue states, landlord friendly, not. I think all of
Yeah.
that has become hyper important to look at and evaluate. Yeah, I still haven't left California. Well, specifically, I haven't left Fresno, right? I don't know that I would ever buy in, San Francisco, for example, just nutty behavior. But I mean, just yesterday, right? LA Times article about Fresno being the number one market in all the country for rentals. So, hey, California, Fresno's not California. I don't know. Like all thumbs are
I'll
fingers,
say
but
it's
not all
hyper
fingers are thumbs.
local. So it's
Yeah,
like there are pockets of good and bad everywhere.
absolutely. Yeah. And that's interesting. You're going more apartments, kind of the value add story. Are you looking for, kind of newer construction? What strike your
No,
fancy?
it's mostly value add because you got to be able to create enough equity and cash flow to make it all work. So
Got it.
value add, but value add out of your own market's a challenge too. So you got to be careful how much value add you ask for.
Right, right. I'm just curious. I didn't expect this going in, but do we have a move in Jim Ingersoll's future? Like you're
No,
going to
no, no,
pick
no,
up
I'm not
stakes and
moving.
move?
No, 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 I'm not moving. I'm staying in Virginia.
All right, you just never know. I just all these new
I know,
changes.
no, 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 I'm staying right here.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So again, when you look at your business kind of going forward, I guess that's really where I want to go, right? So we're sitting here April 1st, 2021. There's a lot of people saying lots of things that have no experience, right?
Right.
You know, everybody has a camera and an opinion, and you know, it goes out there. So I guess the first thing I have to ask you is, are you growing your portfolio? Are you trimming it? What are you doing in, you know, Jim's portfolio as you
I
sit here?
sold some last year, but I've been buying more this year. So here's the question I struggle with. Like 5 years from now, when we're in 2026, are we going to look back and wish we had bought more this year or sold more this year?
Yeah, that's exactly
Hard
the
question.
question. That is, yeah, it's funny when I look at my business. So we kind you were doing a refi right before this call
Yeah,
started,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that's actually something I did a lot of in 2020. I did a lot of refinancing, restructuring debt. All of it was rate and term, right? So I didn't take any cash out. I could have, but I didn't.
Good for you. You and I are in the extreme minority on that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need more, like, I don't want more cash. I certainly don't want the higher rate that comes with it. Because again, I want to hold forever, right? That's my time horizon. So we restructured millions of dollars in debt. I think we increased cash flow just with debt restructuring, like almost $5,000 when you add everything up, maybe 4,500, not to stretch. That's not a bad day, right? That's not a bad
No,
year.
it's a good guy.
Yeah. And then we look at last year, I think we bought 6 deals, kept 4 units, all off market, right? Finding deals on market last year was impossible.
Finding
Uh,
any deals this year is hard.
yeah, actually, you know what? Let's talk. I think that's going to change. So let me go back to your 5-year question. I think we're going to look back and say, I wish I had more deals, but it's going to be about the debt structure. That's what I think is going to be. Because
Our
I think
rates are low.
Yeah, I think anybody who takes advantage today, and that's why all these newbies, serious newbies, I think have an advantage over us, right? They can go get that FHA money, you know, with a 4 on it.
Right.
You know, maybe even a high 3 if they have the right credit and down payment. I think that is going to be extremely valuable in 2026. Um, yeah, because again, to your earlier point, I think we have to have inflation, and then I think rates have to go up. I think we're going to see a 5 to 8-year run where interest rates on the 30-year are higher in December than they are January, right? Kind of, right? They're at 3.5 this January. They're at 4.25 next December. Then they're at 4.25. They're at 5. I think that's a trend I see in the future. How about you?
No, I think rates could go up. I think rates could go up. And so that's what I've been struggling with is like, what do I do this year? I have to do something. I don't want to do nothing.
Yeah,
Um, as you know, I went to lunch a couple of days ago with Jeffrey Taylor,
yeah,
and I asked him, I said, if you look back, like I asked Jeffrey this, I said, if you look back like 5 or 10 years ago, I'm not talking about teaching, but
yeah,
like, were you buying, selling, holding? What were you doing like 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And he said, back then I was buying quite a bit. I said, are you thankful right now at lunch right here that 5 or 10 years ago you bought quite a
yeah.
bit? And he said, absolutely. So like, as time goes on,
Yeah.
all those assets have gone up. His cash flow has gone up.
Oh, for
His
sure.
balances that he owes have dropped.
Significantly.
So
Yeah.
it's like such a simple formula for wealth building is just to buy and hold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Buy and hold, fixed rate debt.
just keep forever.
Yeah. Just keep it
Then you
forever.
don't have to worry as much about a market cycle.
No, I think that's really wise. Um, Too many people come into this game with almost I was going to say gambling, but that's not fair. Almost like a stock market mind, right? Where the market goes like this and they
Yeah,
expect real estate to have similar kind of dramatic moves. And people like real estate cycles. Yes, there are cycles, but they are months and quarters in the making, right? You don't have a crash, Friday. because of what happened on Thursday, right? That's not how real estate works. There's too many competing parts. If you're in the residential space, 68% of all the purchases or owners or owner occs, and if you don't get out of an owner occ and then not get something else or go to a rental, right? You got to live somewhere. Nobody likes to live in a car. So yeah, just real estate doesn't move like stocks, and too many people are calling for a crash this year, and that drives me crazy.
Well, I mean, for a few years, I thought we were going to reset. I mean, you go
Ah,
back and listen to like an interview you and I may have had a year or two ago. I may have mentioned it,
yeah.
but I was wrong. So this year, I don't think we're going to reset. So hopefully, I'm not wrong again.
Yeah. Let's be clear. I've been telling folks for quite a while, there's no chance for a crash this year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, the
There's
numbers
no
don't look it up.
inventory and prices are jacking up, and they're going up a lot. Rents are going up a lot too.
Yes.
And
Well, I
we
think
don't
that,
have the inflation yet. And I think when we get inflation, I think everything goes up more.
yeah,
And then
that's
as rates go up, prices go up, things are not as affordable. Affordable housing is going to suffer. And
there's my magic.
that's where we're headed.
That's my magic thing is you got to watch the affordability. As you know, that was what saved us in 2006 or whatever was the affordability index. And, today we're still relatively healthy. All these new investors that got like 5 years on them, they're like, hey, look, the price point's the same as last time. It's got to crash. I'm like, no, not going to happen. 6.5%, 3.5%. That's a significant payment
There's
difference.
no inventory. We don't have no doc loans.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are different than when I was investing in 2006, for sure.
Yeah, adjustable rate mortgages weren't, the thing of the day. Cash out refis, the teaser loans. I mean, it's just so very much different. I am curious about one thing. Part of the market that was broken last year, Jim, was what I call the move up market. It's like, hey, mom and dad bought their house 6-7 years ago, or actually, maybe it's a young couple just married, no kids. 7-8 years go by. Now they have 2 kids. They need more space. So it's that move up buyer, right? They want to sell entry level and they want to go, whatever the next upgrade is. At least in California, that market was dead last year. People are like, don't come in my house. Don't touch my shit. I don't want, go away. I think that is going to reverse big time. And I think we're sitting on the doorstep of a wave of inventory from those move up buyers as we exit dark times to light times, right? Go winter to spring. How was the move up market in Virginia? I have no idea.
I agree. And I think too, though, I went to lunch with somebody recently, a couple of weeks ago, Brian, and Brian told me that he read an economic stat saying there's tons of people that want to change jobs right now, but they're waiting.
Yeah.
And they're waiting till this pandemic's a little further in. At that point, if they start moving around, that's going to create some inventory as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think
a lot of it's coming to the pandemic, I think, as far as inventory.
Yeah. We just unnaturally, I mean, I don't know about you, but it was my first investing in a pandemic. Never done it before. It was kind of different. Yeah. It's kind of weird, right?
For the Spanish flu.
Yeah. The 1918, I wasn't around yet. My parents weren't even around yet. So, so really what's happening is I think we're going to see more inventory, right? We're at a record low. Last time I saw was 1.03 million available homes listed across the country. And a natural market is over 3 million.
There's more realtors than there are homes listed.
I saw that. That is nuts.
In some markets, not every market.
Not every market, but that's still it's a fun stat to throw out there. Certainly true in California, no doubt. But where I was going with this, I think we could double available inventory by, let's be crazy. Let's put a month out there. We're in April. By August, I'm going to guess right now, we have it recorded that inventory is 2 million available homes. And here's the rub. It's not foreclosures, not short sales, right?
Not just.
It's not. I mean, people don't realize. People are talking about 3.2 million, people delinquent or serious delinquent or whatever. They don't understand the timeline to actually execute a foreclosure. It's a minimum of 6 months. And last time it was 2 years. So you get
all that's on hold anyways with all the moratoriums.
Yeah, it's just mathematically, logically speaking, it can't happen this year, just given timelines, right? Especially now that that's extended to September 1st. So not happening. But I still think inventory doubles by August. What do you think about that? Just because people start moving around.
I can't imagine it'll double.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. We have it.
I could be wrong. So we'll see.
Well, that's important. I mean, that's why it's important to talk to other people that have been around for a while. I think we have we've had the perfect storm for
Yeah.
limited inventory. And I think every reason for limited inventory starts to fall off. And what will happen is inventory will go up, days on market will expand. And what will really happen is we'll start to see quality differences, right? The prettiest house on the best location will still sell lightning fast. But it's the
Yeah.
stuff that's like, oh, it's kind of on a busy street, or maybe it hasn't been updated since the 80s. That stuff's going to sit longer, and it's going to give us the ability, us as investors, the ability to do some deals, which I'm excited about. So maybe it's wishful thinking, but that's what I see coming.
Well, it could be. It could be. I mean, right now it's multiple offer city and it's crazy. I'm hearing of offers. I haven't received one like this, but I have received like 25, 30,000 over ask. But there are people that are receiving offers like 90 to 150,000 over asking.
And that's on a purchase price of what? So we get a scale.
Um, let's see. One of my realtors said there was one at 600 that sold for 690.
Oh my God,
And
15%.
then I heard of one that was at 350. It sold for 480.
Wow.
So and it closed. So I don't know. Maybe they're cash, not appraisal.
Oh, they have to be. They're waiving that appraisal condition, no doubt. I mean, that's just funny.
People are.
So again, this is why I think inventory has to come, because again, people are predictable, right? So again, think about the last year. Don't come to my house. Don't touch my stuff. Now they're starting to hear stories about, oh, they thought it was worth 300. They got 400. And then they're looking around going, oh, my stuff's old. It's kind of updated. Let me go get some of that money. So they're going to list their house and then upgrade, right? And then they're not going to realize that they're competing in a big market as well. But I think
That's part of the concern is that, I talk to people that have like a $400,000 or $500,000 house, they would sell like that.
Oh yeah.
Like I sold a flip last week at 600 and I pre-sold it.
Yeah.
So everything sells, right? So, but like, where are they going to move?
Yeah.
There's nothing good for them to move into right now, so they don't even sell.
That's the thing, is I've never seen this. Just the natural animal spirits have really been restrained. And it's like a dog on a really strong leash, right? Or chain or whatever, right? It's been pulled back. I don't think they can hold it back. I think this summer, I think we're in it now, right? We're in spring. I think summer comes. And, again, it totally could be wishful thinking because last year was so hard. But I think inventory is going to double. So we'll have to see what happens by August and see how right or wrong I am, I guess.
Come back and do another session.
There you go. Well, the other thing we got to talk about is rentals and inflation, right?
Yeah.
As landlords, we really benefit from two pieces of that, right? There's the inflation of the asset, right? Because we already own it, so it's inflation. But then also inflation in rent.
Yes,
right?
let's talk about both.
Yeah, go for it.
A friend of mine, Kevin Femley, just posted. He's in the middle of Pennsylvania, near where David Krulak lives. And he posted, he just pulled up the data off Zillow and his individual area went up 10%. Other markets are up like 14% and more. Like, is it Omaha or somewhere out there, Idaho, somewhere?
Yeah.
It's up even more. So imagine if you had like, say, a $5 million rental portfolio and it goes up 10%. That's a $500,000 equity gain while you sleep.
Yeah, that's not a bad day. That's okay.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I don't mind those days. Those days are pretty good. But yeah, that's
really
what
happening. And that's the reality of the equity side.
Well, yeah, and what I want newer people to realize is, yeah, it takes a while to build a portfolio, but that's the whole one rental at a time story. You just get one, and then you get another one, and then you get another one, and yeah, it's. I think I think that'll be kind of the thing of the next 5 years. I don't know that inflation's a decade in the making, but I think the next 5 years we're going to be staring at inflation north of 3%, even though the federal government will freaking lie to us and tell us it's 1%. But I mean, look at
That is saying that not to really expect inflation. I just don't believe it. Do you?
No, it's so fictitious. I did a video the other day on the Daily Financial News. Lumber, construction costs, shipping, automobiles, food, gas. I mean, everything is up. I don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? But rent is up. It's here.
Rent's up a lot.
Yeah, and it's not going to slow down.
So I'm renting a 1-bedroom apartment that somebody just moved out of yesterday. Today's the 1st, right?
Right.
I rented it to this really great couple 18 months ago, and they just moved out. It was rented at 1045. So I thought, and that was market at that point. I'm really convinced, like I'm always on the upper end
Yeah.
of market for a 1 bedroom. So I decided to just increase it 20%, 1245. I am flooded with people that want it. So
Wow.
20%, the exact same apartment, 18 months later.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just
So
as one example.
yeah, so last year, that's funny. So my apartments are actually soft right now. My 1 bedroom, my 2 bedroom apartments are soft, right? Because they're all close to, they're all, like they all share walls and whatnot. They're basic
Yeah.
apartments. But my houses, whoo,
Yeah.
fire.
So yes.
They're just
So
so
give me an example of how much rent has gone up in a house, like a
yeah.
single.
Yeah. So I think the best example is, and again, I only did this at exit last year. So when somebody moved, I raised it. I didn't raise anybody's rent during the crisis if they stayed. But I had a rent on a 2 bedroom, 1 bath house, decent area, kind of like a B minus area, fully remodeled when the tenant moved in. We were getting 1150 for a 2 bedroom, 1 bath house, fenced backyard, everything you would expect, right? We got 1400.
I mean,
And
that's a huge boost.
oh yeah, yeah, and you got to remember, we don't just have one, right? So uh,
Right.
not only did we restructure our debt for like 4,500 or whatever it was, I think we raised rents on move outs probably a little bit more than that last year. And we'll probably do more of that this year, because as we transition, we'll go back, to all the others that we didn't raise and go, okay, we got to raise you a little
How
bit.
long
So
had that tenant been in that one in between your
probably 2.5 years. I think they actually bought a house. So
700 to 1400 in 2.5 years is a lot.
yeah,
And this is without like major inflation yet.
yeah, exactly,
So I
exactly.
think rents are going to continue to jump, and I don't know what'll happen. It'll be very interesting.
Well, I think there's a couple
Finding
of
really
things.
good. I'm,
Go ahead.
yeah, I'm finding great residents too. A lot of like millennials with really high income and very good credit seem to prefer renting over buying. They want to be mobile.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of truth to that. And I think this is what we're going to see over the next year is, I think home ownership, because of builders and just availability, is going to become harder and harder for the average person, which means we may get more and more renters. I still think urban core, think Manhattan, San Francisco. I still think that struggles a little bit, although I think there's a return coming. Because I think every crisis teaches us something, and this crisis taught us space is good, right? I want a backyard, I want a garage, I don't want to be around people. And if that's true, and housing prices go up, builders keep building, at the upper end, that just means more and more people have to rent, and rents go up, obviously.
Yeah, no, I agree on all of it. I think middle class is going to get crunched. It's going to go from like here to like here. It's very sad to me to think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so I know you only had a half hour for us. When you look out over the next year or so, I guess I'll ask you the question: are you going to be adding more this year, or sitting tight, or reducing?
Well, no, I've been adding, so
Yeah,
I'm going to continue to add. But
me
I'm going
too.
to, I'll add some in Virginia and I'll add some in Florida. It gives me a little diversity and a little diversity on government regulation. And
Yeah,
you're adding as well?
absolutely. Yeah, I'm adding, but I'm only adding residential. I actually think multifamily is going to be in a little bit of pain in 3 to 5 years
Mhm.
when the debt structure
I
comes up.
do think people that are out there syndicating and paying full price could get crunched. Like say Grant
That's
Cardone's guys,
yeah, yeah.
as
No,
an
I
example.
Yeah, bigger is better is not always true, right? That's something I've learned over 20 years. Sometimes apartments are the place to be, and sometimes it's single family. I'm going to buy as much residential, 4 and below, I can this year. I think
Mhm.
the debt structure is still abnormally low. I think it's artificially low, and I want to go get as much 30-year debt as I can right now. So that's what I'm doing. Restructuring the final pieces of my debt, locking in 30-year money as cheap as I can, and I'm going to buy as much residential, because as my book said, I'll let residential run till it's unaffordable. Then I'll just 1031 out and move into apartments, just like we did last time.
Love it.
Yep. Very cool, man. Thank you for your time. I always love talking the real world with somebody who's been doing it a long time like
Love it.
me. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thank
Take
you
care.
for having me on.
You got it.